I missed this, man. We are live, fantastic. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop. You know, I've been playing some games, not recently, obviously. But last time I streamed, I mean, what was I doing? I was doing Psychonauts 2, Psychonauts 1, probably some other games in there. Actually, maybe not. It might have just been the 2 Psychonauts games. But regardless, like, I love me a good title theme, and the Psychonauts game, at least the first one, had a pretty banger title screen. The second one, not so much. But when it comes down to it, this shit slaps. I missed this. I missed like vibing out to this song while I started stream. Anyways, Great Ace Attorney, it's been some time. We played through the first game, then we stopped, now we're back. So, last time, what happened? Who remembers? Do you remember? I sort of remember. I think, there was the Eggs Benedict dude, and he did bad thing. Don't remember exactly what he did, but, oh, it was the murder. The rich guy. Hey, Stormy? It was the rich guy. The guy who died in the fire in the third case, it was he killed the guy. No, Eggs Benedict guy somehow McGilded. Thank you. There's something Eggs Benedict and his dad didn't know, but Eggs Benedict fucking killed McGilded and then was trying to get rid of the evidence. And they had the music box was to give secrets. Hello, Cabelliot. I will say it right eventually. And then Susato-san had to go back to her home country, but before she did, there was something with a bunch of super spy names, and one of them was our old friend Kazuya. So I guess we'll see what's up with that. Let's see what's up with that. Let's play some Great Ace Attorney Chronicles 2! Yeah. Let's just start playing from there. Let's go straight into the second game. I'm assuming, since it's a new game... What? Is this... Oh. Never mind. Oh, wait, no. Hold on. I think I need to go back to the title screen. I think I just need to... I think I need to start game 2. But I'm guessing since it's game 2, the first case is going to be another introduction case. Which is cool. I'm down for another introduction case. I haven't played in a while. So let's do it. Don't do math. Never do math. Dude, the Great Ace Attorney 2, Risovale. I'm here for Risovale. Who's that? Is that a new character? Mr. Risovale? Is he makes risotto, probably? Alright. I feel da 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 Super Mario Sunshine. Waha! Oh, it's Susato. It definitely felt like
here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those days in London seem like a dream, but I do miss my time in England's vast capital.
I'm investigating.
You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer.
Dude, thank you. I try my best.
I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court.
Probably not. Let's be honest.
Forgive me.
Oh, right, she had to go back to her home country because her dad died.
To visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened.
What's happened?
Just 2 months after arriving home.
I find myself faced with another awful crime. What? A murder? There's been a murder! Oh, she did it again! I can't believe you would do this!
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer.
Oh, shit! Susato the lawyer! Oh, she's dead!
So please, I ask for your guidance.
Oh!
Kazuma-sama,
Oh, shit. Damn. I did not expect her to be dead. Episode 1. The Adventure of the Blossoming Attorney. Yo! Yo! Suzato-san is a lawyer now. Yo, she's gonna go back to England. She's gonna smack Ryunosuke. She's gonna be like, this shit ain't that hard. What's wrong with you? You're an idiot. I'm doing my best, Suzato. It seems like it. Hell yeah, Supreme Court of Judicature, Defendants Antechamber 3. I was actually not expecting... God, I can't remember her name. It was like... I want to say Bean Gesserit, but I know it's not Bean Gesserit because that's the name of the people in Dune. It was something English. It was the English lady that nobody liked from the first case from the last game. She's dead now! Hell yeah! I'm here for that. Although that does make potentially things are more interesting now if the plot thickens, because that never got resolved. Here I am again after 9 months, the Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. He's still alive.
Ah, good you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late.
Oh, yes, good morning, sir. Do I really... Any tips on what? On learning, on deciphering Lua's script? I don't even know what that is, so nope. I can read hiragana and katakana. Was that in one of those? I probably could have read it. I'm an idiot. I didn't think of it. I forgot that I've been learning Japanese. Also, is this her dad? I don't remember. Also, did she actually, like, pass the bar exam in the 2 months she's been here? Because that's kind of fucking wild. Good job, Suzato.
I hardly recognize you. You cut a fine figure, Counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those white eyes aren't doing you any favors either.
Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous, I feel utterly nauseated. Thank you for not saying nauseous. Okay, best girl. Suzato, best girl, she says nauseated instead of nauseous. Fucking thank you. Suzato, I'm in love with you for that one thing. I almost wish I'd never been born. 2 things. I also feel that way. We have so much in common, Suzato. Dude, I'm simping for Suzato now.
Goodness, not the sort of thing a father aims to hear from his daughter, I must say.
Yeah, okay, so it is the dad. Jezebel, yes, it was Brett. It was Jezai Brett. Eugene Mikotaba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University, a man who earlier in his life fucked my mom and traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me? Hey, that voice was pretty good! Would I be correct in thinking you're my lawyer in court today? Oh, yes. Yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life. It's a complete fabrication, this whole thing! Yeah, but you are a woman, so you are gonna get accused. Raymambambi, born the same year as I and my greatest friend. Wait, she's your greatest friend? Then why the fuck is it? I guess Japanese people are formal. That's fine. Though unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory helping my father. Lesbian. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed. Oh my, it's just that I totally want your fingers inside me. I mean, you look so gallant and dashing. Wait, that's the same thing. Okay, so she is just lesbian. Sorry? And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. Goodness, I don't think she knows that I'm not gay. She hasn't realized who I am.
It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work.
Oh, what do you mean, Professor Mikotaba?
If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax.
Disguise? Am I dressed as a man because I have to be a man to be a lawyer in Japan? Oh, she's not a lesbian. Or she is, but she doesn't realize it yet. She's closeted. She thinks she's in love with a man, but she's in love with me. Ha! Haha. Oh my god. So good. Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. I gotta see this. I gotta see Rule 63 Susato. This doesn't make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father? Ah! Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Ray. It's just that... No! What are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, that varsity cape, that varsity badge! Look at you! You look all the world just like a student of the Imperial Yume University. A male student! I'm so glad you think so. Calling me Butch means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke up at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see, they wouldn't let me in the courtroom if I was a gal.
It was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial.
My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated having been born into this body. Susato trans moment? Susato trans moment, maybe? Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom, despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self in the courtroom at the courtroom door. Not trans moment. So that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you go to such lengths for me? Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. No, I have complete faith in you, despite the fact that you're not a lawyer at all. Ray. It's so strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already, but you're definitely not a fucking lawyer, so what the hell do you think you're doing? And yet, just because you're a woman, what a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. She's still a lesbian. Ray? Please don't look at me like that with those flushed cheeks and doting eyes. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just... You really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice.
I don't approve of lesbians. I'm going to kill you after this trial in case you're not acquitted guilty. It also means you look like a dude, daughter.
I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. I'm not familiar with the Persona games, never played them, but I'll trust you on that. Ray, you're a man, managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I've noticed how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Yes, I can't wait to see Susato! It was exciting! Susato? You do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I washed it this morning after that murder I committed. Couldn't have blood on my conscience. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence, which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. That means so much to me, Susato.
Defendant, counsel! Court's about to begin. Proceed to courtroom at once. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty.
That's a really shitty reason to do that, though. Wouldn't you agree? Oh. Stand aside. I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast.
Well, Susato, you certainly surprised your father. Going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom and with no prior experience of being a lawyer.
There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But Father, You haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this?
Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that.
And is it true, the reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was?
We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student.
Thank you, Father.
Please, call me Daddy.
I'm Suzato Mikataba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here, I wonder? Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Let's do some crimes! Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. Let's solve some crimes. Excited to get back into this after months. Supreme Court. How many months has it been? Has it been months? It's definitely been months. I feel like this has been October, like even before October maybe. I feel like it was October we played this. There she is!
This court is now in session to hear the trial of Raymond Balmy, Lesbiami.
The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency.
Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready.
Ready!
Ah, yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryutaro Naruhodo. Is that correct?
Sorry!
Oh, yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. So I'm afraid I had to say I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel?
Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I'm Ryutaro. He who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan.
Rah! Seems Ryutaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. Then there's Wide Wild Eyes, and aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen.
Naruhodo? Is that your boyfriend? Fuck him! I hope he dies in Great Britain.
A fresh face in the courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be...
You may be thinking of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as a part of the study program. This is,
his cousin!
That's right, Ryutaro here has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. No, I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's preeminent lawyers.
Any of them!
Tut, 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 what a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has to call in a country boy.
How dare you! Susato's every bit as gallant as dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you ever making fun of her.
Huh?
Oh, please be careful, Ray.
What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes very much suggest that he is not.
I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, my eyes want to flit. I was not expecting to read that sentence. That was a bit weird.
The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may well affect the very future of our empire.
Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet, for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown yokel by the dock. Dear me.
Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense. To determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom.
9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now, this same judge tested him as well. Yeah, I know the word. It's just not a sentence I was expecting because I'm very not used to seeing want in that context. So it was like the sentence structure struck me as odd at first before I realized what was being said. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions? Alright, it's time to prove myself. Ha! Did you do a Ryunosuke slap? Let's go! Yes, Your Excellency, but please do make them simple.
Very well. To start with, what is your favorite color? You will state the name of the victim.
Phew, that is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. Dude, she tried and she succeeded in forgetting it.
What's the matter?
Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are want to blank.
It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position and in that guise.
She is in guys' clothing. Shut up.
Even a bright spark like you is about to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances.
Oh dear, this is a dismal failure.
Don't fret. You need only use the knowledge that you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem.
Of course, the court record. Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record.
That's right. Just use E to open the court record. Then you need to flip to the people section with E. And don't forget to take too long, alright? His Excellency is watching you closely.
Alright, check the court record with E. That's where the information I need will be. Post-mortem report, time of death just after 2 p.m. Death is believed to be due to trauma to the victim's lung from a knife blade. Only a single wound was identified. Josiah Brett, female, British, time of death, 11 August, around 2 p.m. Ascertained by examination and witness statements. Single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in a federal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim's both eyes.
I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case?
Is Josiah Brett?
Yes!
Yes! Hey! Doing the same thing. It's very good.
The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Josiah Brett.
Ouchie's like, fuck, I didn't expect them to get through that one. It's time for one of my 27 other tricky traps.
Josiah Brett.
A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record.
Is it? Does it say there? 9 months ago, found guilty. Yeah, okay. Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Josiah Brett. Behind the woman student persona was the face of Queen Victoria. Yes! 9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University was killed. And the culprit was Josiah Brett.
Yes, she was a killer. And also Queen Victoria. It's crazy how that happened. At the time, our country just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain. And it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I do believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikatama. Yes, I was indebted to the man. He's been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university.
So basically, it's kind of your fault he's dead. You might as well have murdered John H. Wilson. Let's be honest, Mikataba.
Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why we have the exact same voice, because I only know how to do one elderly gentleman. Student of Imperial Yubei University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense.
Thank you, Cabelliot.
And exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Josiah Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion.
Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead.
Why Shanghai?
There's a British consulate court there. Correct, I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship.
And yet, the very day before her departure, the English one was killed!
Oh, only the day before. I thought she was gonna be like, oh, killed! I can't believe she's dead!
That will do. I'm satisfied the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant.
Oh. Fuck, that was easy. Over the first hurdle.
Time for my other 27 tricky traps, Mr. Ryotaro.
Prosecutor Ouchie.
YMCA. As you wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th August in broad daylight. On the outskirts of the imperial capital under a bright blue sky at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. There was a crab.
The crab murdered her, calling it.
The incident occurred inside a small beach hut erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung, an injury which proved fatal.
Looks like the swan's dead too, yeah.
There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett in her bathing attire, hot, and the accused, Ray Rimbambaboo Papa. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we should consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady.
Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say.
That's certainly true, and the prosecution summary was full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about
a powerful motive.
You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement.
Tut, 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 is the yokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand?
I beg your pardon.
No matter, let us put this to the accused, shall we? Mimbami-san, you are a research assistant at the Imperial Yumei University, I believe. Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikataba in his laboratory at the moment.
I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility.
Fascinating to hear. Now another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikataba, whose research were you assisting then? Definitely not John H. Wilson. That wouldn't be that.
Dr. Wilson! The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago?
How is that fucking powerful motive at all? I wouldn't commit a murder just because somebody murdered my boss. I'd be like, shit, that sucks. Not gonna go out and kill them.
The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true?
Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man.
Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishwoman who killed him.
Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred. No, no! Ray, careful what you're saying!
Huh. The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency.
Well, that does it. Guilty. Well, it was clearly a trap all along.
How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. I must find out more details and something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really have to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about... Mimbami-san. Yes, what is it, Naruhodo-san. I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryutaro Suzato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place, and why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. I wasn't like that at all. There were other people present, a detective who was guarding Miss Brett for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all.
But let us be clear,
Also, why would you do that? Why would you be like, hey, girl who clearly doesn't like this other girl very much, why don't you go into this bathhouse with her?
At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life.
No!
Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again.
Damn. Oh my god, is it? Oh, I hope so. I fucking hope so. Although he's kind of like overseas right now, right? Unless he got unless he got fired from the boat. Oh, I hope it's him. He absolutely got fucking fired and sent back to Japan. There's no other way. It's gonna be him. I guarantee it. Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel.
The prosecution counsel seems to enjoy using his provocative tricks like that. But for now at least, we need to assemble more facts. Try not to let him goad you.
Oh dear, this is really terrifying. But Father's right, we need more information. As a lawyer, I really have to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about the bathing spot. If I may, Prosecutor Ouchie.
What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student?
I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot.
My apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. Unlike us, who never bathe. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skins.
No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea?
For old time's sake, I believe.
Sorry?
Miss Brett was to depart from Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply.
But on what grounds would we agree to such a request?
Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal.
Don't look at me, Professor! It was the government who granted permission, not I! In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong, except we sent the dumbest guy on the job!
Also, in this case, the British government should send her to the beach. They sent her to the beach. Now she's there. It's the British government's fault. British government is the culprit. Case closed. Let's go. But in fact, a murder took place.
I said don't look at me. It was that young student girl who did it, not I.
No one has proved that yet.
I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. I believe we have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration and instead continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions, seeing the murder of the mentor for whom she had such great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yeah, see, if it was even only temporary till Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai, you can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment.
Poor Ray.
So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to peruse this exhibit. A photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident.
Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image.
Is it that tragic?
As you can clearly see,
See, there is nowhere within the cut anyone could have hidden.
the court will accept this photographic print as evidence.
A photograph of the crime scene has been entered in the court record. Like she got a pen in her hand.
As I understand it, then the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant.
Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence.
Despite the fact that they were alone, we have evidences. Witnesses.
One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. Not that highly respected. I changed my mind. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt.
Very well then, Counsel. Bring forth your witness.
I, Takatsuchi Ouchi, have been waiting for this moment.
Sorry.
Oh, yes, I haven't forgotten that trial 9 months ago here in this very courthouse, when that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me. Ryunosuke Naruhodo!
What? Yeah?
This insult to the Ouchi family name will never be forgotten.
You've become conceited with age, Counsel, but the old have to stand aside to make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that.
Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut in the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died.
The start of your own mini Meiji revolution. Are you modernizing as well, Counsel?
Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the ouchy growth. You see this seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown?
I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm a cancerous.
I'm afraid I can't really see. Where? What is the hope exactly?
I said silence!
Today I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you! My victory shall be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned.
You know, I'm pretty sure they got medicines for that. Or maybe not at this time period.
With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand.
It looks like the stakes are high on both sides on this trial. The prosecution and defense each have much to lose.
A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life.
It's like, fuck, sorry, she's a woman. I didn't realize she was that important.
Oh my god! I love these guys! Oh, it's so good to see them both back. It was panning over, and I saw... It was panning over, and I saw the first guy. I was like, yes, as expected. And then pan over the second one. I'm like, he's back! I forget both their names.
Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Hasanaga, that's what it is.
Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. That's why I wear this turtle on my head.
And I am, well, the next big thing in books, an author renowned throughout the capital, in fact. Yes. Soon to be sold out, the satirical I Am a Cat, a sensational success by Saseki Natsume.
Oh my goodness.
Struggling student from the provinces, please, you needn't be in awe of me.
I needn't.
It's only natural that you'd feel nervous in my presence. By all of you, please relax. Call me Saseki, even.
Yes. What on earth is Sasaki-san doing here?
I'm a big shot back in our home country. Look at me go.
Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun. Yes, of course, I know.
Yo, what up, Saseki?
I presume Saseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I certainly could never forget about him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the past 6 months that it's been since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hasanaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe.
Do I have something on my face?
Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either.
I suppose it's this disguise, is it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. That's why I keep fucking them up.
Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Saseki-san? Well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yume University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less.
At Yume University?
After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact.
With Professor Mikataba.
Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about 2 former students who'd studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy, snap shots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy.
Look at that guy go! Yeah. No, obviously, Cabela, he's my faithful friend. Just Fawful. It's just Fawful from Superstar Saga.
As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies.
Thank you very much. He practically threw that paper at me.
The Saseki Natsume article has been entered into the court record. Anyway, followed by interview with the professor.
Let's check that out. Man's fucking dabbing. That's not even how you dab, dude.
What a fucking dipshit. I love him. He's such a dipshit. The lady in question appeared to have made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words.
As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance, of course.
White Chowderance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance, and the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her. That detective I am at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hasanaga.
Thereby the entire party...
Wait, what the fuck? Ugh! God, too many shitty voices.
Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach.
But fortunately, I'm at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly.
Oh my, Inspector, you... Well, you do have something on your face now.
Ah, how unsightly. I do apologize.
Does that mean you went to the beach too, Father?
No, fortunately I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that, as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. Yeah, but if only I had, I'd have never seen that awful sight. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. Very well, I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you have witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast.
Of course, Your Excellency.
Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret I am.
Witness testimony! The witness is seen. The witness scene.
On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise.
I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me.
I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question.
Yes, that young girl froze astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed wildly.
I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times.
Multiple times? What?
He needed us to pay for this testimony that both witnesses here presently sought. The very moment of this heinous crime.
What?
Now, if you'll recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes, that was it. Damning evidence.
What have you there, Consul? A so-called fountain pen, is it?
Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. Counter to the popular belief, it does not actually create a fountain. It appears that in her dying moments were their final ounce of strength. The victim clutched a piece of evidence that would possibly identify her killer.
What?
Your Excellency, if you'd cast your eyes over the photographic print of the scene once more.
Everyone knows that Ray is a fountain pen. Wait, no, that's Bic. No, REI is the hiking store. I was gonna say, fucking if they called her Bic because she's a pen.
Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping at something quite deliberately there, lad.
That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency.
Ah! The owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Mimbami. The initials of the defendant.
No! Yeah, that's totally what fucking happened.
This fountain pen will be admitted immediately.
Fucking how? This is kangaroo court. Dude, you can't fucking, I mean, okay, it's fine evidence because she was holding it, but RM is not fucking evidence. RM is nothing. Don't even try that shit with me, ouchie.
So have I admitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence? There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel.
I don't understand. The prosecutor ouchie 9 months ago had none of this man's poise.
Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now.
Honkshu, honkshu,
Naruhodo-san.
Honkshu, Naruhodo.
That means... Oh, yes, me!
Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom?
Dude, no, was it RM or R&M? If it was R&M, it's a pen for Rick and Morty. It was actually, the RM actually stood for Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
because, Ryutaro, pull yourself together, please.
Alright, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant, finding consistencies in the witness testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. ZP? Zero punctuation? That's all there is to it. So a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. Let's see what I can do. I can't believe Yahtzee did a murder. The witness scene. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special assignment in disguise. I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran to the beach hut at once where I found the pair in question. Yes, 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 that young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, and she stabbed wildly. I saw blood on the blade to prove to me that she'd been stabbed the victim multiple times. Actually, before we let's press on this first.
Hold it!
Hold it! She was stabbed multiple times. How can you be sure of that?
Very simply, from the blood on the blade.
The blood?
When I entered the hut, I saw the defendant holding the blade raised up in the air.
Yes, yes, that's right. I saw it too.
Oh. And I noted that there was blood on the blade already at that point. In other words, the victim had already been stabbed at least once by the time I arrived on the scene.
Yes, yes, that's right. I saw it too.
And the victim was already holding the defendant's fountain pen in her hand too. All of which means I can be sure the victim did not die instantly.
Yes, yes, right. Saw it too.
Maybe a year in London was too much for him. He sounds like he's forgotten how to speak Japanese.
The logic of your argument is sound, at least.
Well, as I said, it is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly.
Perhaps it should have been your guiding principle to protect the victim flawlessly. That's just my personal opinion, of course.
Fuck. Shit, you got me there, Ryutaro.
I gotta admit, I got straight fucked by that zinger. He's hiding! Counsel. You'll refrain from mocking the witness. Damn. He hid. He's bashful. Okay, I do need to check this. Okay, so... Single deep stab wound. That's all I can do to stand here, wide-eyed and mute.
Goodness, my dear, you really must try to calm down.
But how am I supposed to find an inconsistency in what these two gentlemen are saying? I don't see why either of them would have any reason to lie.
What you must remember, I think, is that witnesses may inadvertently lie at times. For various reasons. A misunderstanding, a mistaken observation, a delusion even.
Ah, a delusion.
What's important is that we determine the truth, and there's only one sure way to do that.
Yes, with evidence, of course.
Spoken like a true judicial assistant. During witness testimony, you can use E to pick a piece of evidence to present blah 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 blah. You need to listen carefully to each statement and compare what's said to the details in the call record. If you find some conflicting information, then maybe the inconsistency you're looking for. Yes, it's all about inconsistencies. Once you've identified a witness's statement that appears to conflict with a piece of evidence, present the evidence to the witnesses with awe, and the way ahead will present itself to you, I'm sure.
Yes! Alright then. I'll consider the details of all the evidence in the court record against each statement to find an inconsistency. I hope I'm up to the task.
Don't forget that you can have the witnesses repeat the statements as many times as you like. Everyone has to start at the beginning, remember? So those wide eyes are quite forgivable. And besides, there's no one else to defend the poor girl.
You're right. I need to listen to the testimony again from the start. No, I don't. Bop, boop, bing, bong. I'm gonna present. I'm gonna present.
Objection!
Objection! With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed.
What's the meaning of this menacing pose, counsel?
I'd like the witness to clarify something for me.
Who? What? Where? When? How?
Not you, Saseki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga.
At me?
In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times.
Yes, that's right. As I said, when I entered the hut. The defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon.
And yet, that cannot be.
What?
Get to the point, please, Counsel.
In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only.
Wah!
In other words,
Inspector Hosanaga's testimony
is bullshit! And Saseki-san,
Me?
you claim to have seen Mimbami-san in the throes of stabbing the victim.
Yes, I did. Wildly.
But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point, that there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding.
yes, and
It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there is no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred.
True. Then what exactly is your contention, Counsel? Are you ever going to tell us?
Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Saseki-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant, in fact, withdrew the blade from the victim's body.
That can't be. Excellent work, Susanoo. You exploded at them with that objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show.
You're right. There were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who has only half a head of hair.
Slander! My hand is quite adequately dressed! In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds makes not a jot of difference.
What? Why not?
Engage your brain, young man! When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And that it was at that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that
The witnesses saw. Post! Hey, we're actually not closing cases, we're only opening them.
the knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim!
Yeah!
All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance.
Ah! Damn. That's maybe the most accurate thing Ouchie has ever said in his entire fucking life. Except for that when he's in the mirror and he's like, I'm a joke! I'm a joke! That's more accurate.
I'm in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion.
But if she was withdrawing the blade...
Then we are back to where we started.
Sorry?
Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim,
Post, hope you're feeling okay. I know you're having some issues. Hope you're doing well.
why would you have pulled the blade from the victim, or the demon's cold-blooded composure, too? The prosecution demands an explanation, and it better be good.
Why did Ray pull out the knife? Because she fucking saw the knife and she was like, ah, shit, that's my knife!
Ah, yes, going for the jugular.
What does father mean by that? I asked how you're doing, Post. I asked if you're good. I want to know if you're doing all right. Not getting the chilies.
Let the court hear your answer then, Counsel.
The truth is, I don't really know. But I have to come with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could... Oh. Well, as long as you're feeling well, that's the most important thing. Stab her again! Stab her again. Hilarious. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant.
That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury.
Indeed, giving her time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates the killer. By saying Rick and Morty did it, so it had to be someone with an IQ of over 900.
The point is, being a medical research assistant, Mambami-san was compelled to act when she faced the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Shit.
Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young yokel.
Indeed.
Is it just me or does it suddenly feel much colder in here?
Your Excellency, if I may,
Speak, witness.
I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the Yokel Defense Council, I mean.
Hey, fuck you! Slipshod!
An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
Very well, Inspector. I permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the Defense Council's assertion.
Yes, sir, I will do so flawlessly. Can't wait to find something else wrong with your testimony, because you suck at this.
Forensic Medicine Primer.
Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor.
Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily?
Yes, think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Also, I know a thing or two about blood, as you can clearly see. Until the doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed.
Well, she is a doctor.
Oh, I see. This is why yokels should stay on the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it.
Who's done that? Who has done that, ouchie? Nobody! Except for murderers! Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so...
Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit.
Father, is it true what they're telling me?
Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways.
Casually stab someone. Oops! Please fall on my blade. Then why would Ray would have done it? Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that would have been fatal for Miss Brett?
I don't know.
Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but... could my friend actually have...
Susato!
Yes?
Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here.
Ah.
Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination.
Oh, yes, Your Excellency.
However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established facts, I will be moving my adjudication immediately afterwards.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard. You didn't? You should have. You've been doing this for a while.
Forensic Medicine Primer.
Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. Tell me about that.
Hold it!
You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean that if you use due care and attention, it would be alright?
I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really, but the blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Unlike Adidas or the guy, you go, just do it. What's his name? Shia LaBeouf. Unlike them.
Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation.
You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath.
Back to the witness testimony, please.
That's basic knowledge that any medical researchers is with an ounce of sense ought to know.
Hold it!
In that case, there's an obvious explanation here. Which is... clearly, the defendant, Ray Mambami-san, does not possess an ounce of sense. Fuck, dude. What do you think about that, Professor Mikataba?
I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense.
Well, I thought it'd be better than labeling her as a murderer.
I don't know young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it.
Careful, Counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing.
Oh dear. That recoiled at me rather badly.
That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn.
Hopefully you can see that. This is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Mambami-san would have certainly been aware of it. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim.
Hold it!
But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? Fuck, I mean, you got that one, Trite, right? Trite? True, right? Trite? You have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views. Oh dear. Perhaps I'm letting my male persona take a hold a little too much. Hosonaga woman respected. Well, I've managed to convey the basics now. That should cover the medical side of the argument. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. Whatever the motive, isn't it just Mambami-san's nature to do something so awful? It just isn't in her nature to do something so awful, but she has both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant.
Objection!
And you, Counsel, do not appear to know the law!
Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings.
With this fledgling defender, I would almost say I pity the accused.
So do I.
Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please.
Ah, yes, Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Mambami-san. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Mambami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual.
Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Mambami-san's abilities.
Clearly the defendant was a man in debt, was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point. This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it.
Shizato, it's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals.
Fundamentals?
Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it?
Of course, but I've been through the court record dozens of times already.
I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You needn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too.
Ah,
I realize this is your first time playing the role of the lawyer in the courtroom, so if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help.
examine the evidence in the court record. It's an idea, certainly. What should I do? I know what to do! Come to think of it, Kazuma-san and Naruhodo were always turning evidence over in their hands. Yep. Alright, but can't turn that around. The pen! The pen! If we take off the pen's lid, nothing really changes. Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? We're just doing that shit that fucking kids do when they're in school and they're bored. Just fucking taking apart pens.
This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
Yes, you fill that by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib.
Is something wrong, Father?
Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all.
Oh, yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. There's some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yume University one.
Must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. But that would seem to imply the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray.
Okay, that's most likely it for this. Ba-bum, ding dong. Ding dong, ding dong. This is the newspaper from Saseki-san. There seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive! Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. From Yume's Medical Research. Father, isn't that your lab?
What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen!
It's this morning's paper that Saseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know?
As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. Not heard any such thing.
Fucking PIs, dude. Never paying attention.
Why on earth could the report have gleaned his information?
Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there?
It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on in the strictest confidence. I put Ray in charge of the project.
Ray? She was managing it?
If what's written here is true, it means she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were linked somehow.
I don't believe it.
We need to read the article very carefully.
Exclusive! Deadly poison stolen. Following a lecture at Yume by Saseki Natsume on the 11th of August, it's come to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing, ending with the acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military. Well, shit, we know a thing or two about her fucking eyeballs, don't we? Pupil constriction. Got 'em. Yes, I need to examine things in greater detail with space.
Ah, by the look in your eyes, I see it's coming back to you. Go through the court record again and have a thorough look at everything. You may just find a clue.
Yes, I'll do straight away. Blank and blank, could cause severe bleeding. In other words, there's no good reason. But what if there was a good reason? Although that's not gonna... Would this work?
Objection!
It will work. Because we haven't actually tied it yet. No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound.
What?
Yeah, the yokel not only has a poor grasp of the law, but also is a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified?
It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Yume unit.
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case.
But...
Prosecutor Ouchie, you will let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article, the court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry.
Counsel for the defense. I am going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion.
Your Excellency!
Yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would have never done something so to further endanger Miss Britt's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article, where it says... fuck, I need to actually check what it's called. Deadly in tiny quantities. Why is the poison being developed? According to the article, the development of the poison was requested by the military.
Yes, a troubling revelation indeed.
Oh, it's very worrying.
And yet, even more worrying
Ah, fuck, it wasn't that.
is how this yokel's trying to manipulate the court with nothing more than rumors.
Ah! It's the... Ah, damn it. Okay, let me look at that again. I was already I was going too far ahead. I was looking at the things. Okay, try reading the article again. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife. Deadly intending qualities. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes.
Are you suggesting?
If the knife used to attack Ms. Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Mimbami-san, would have been withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. What?
This is complete and utter nonsense.
Not at all! The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility.
Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document.
Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold. That's bullshit.
Oh, please, this is clearly desperation, the weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway.
In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense.
Exactly! Well put, Inspector! On what grounds did she do it, yokel?
Why did Ray suspect the stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds.
Here, take 15 acres of my finest corn!
You can't possibly.
From your expression, counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Yes, Your Excellency, I'm well aware of that. I've seen it many times, from my place at his side in the Old Bailey.
In that case, counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? It's this.
Her eyes did a thing. I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the postmortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction was observed in the victim.
Ah!
Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the postmortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death.
Well...
Under normal
circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was an extreme constriction instead, that's most uncertainly unusual, yes.
What are you doing, you yokel detective?
In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death.
What?
If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely.
Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt.
Prosecutor Ouchie, I think you'll agree. This is a very compelling evidence.
You, yokel student and yokel professor!
Got him, dude. You really love that word, huh? Yokel, local, spokal.
I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defense actions.
No, I don't like doing work. That's another one of my 26 traps. I only have 25 tricky traps left. Damn it.
Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm and deny the veracity of the Defense Counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? Remove his doctorate! To the jail cell with you! He doesn't know!
The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft.
Do you mean to tell the court that reports of this theft are unfounded?
No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say.
Ah, listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper.
I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. And also, shut the fuck up, Ouchie, you're a dickhead.
A pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students, rather than allowing them off on killing sprees.
That's totally unfounded.
None of this is Professor Mikotaba's fault. It's all my fault.
Ray,
Mimbami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like that will not be tolerated.
But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What?
so you knew. I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Saseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was.
Why didn't you let me know immediately?
I don't like it when you punch me. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was.
The thief? You don't mean?
Yes, of course. It was that dainty English woman.
Mr. I, Brett.
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints.
I don't believe it. In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips while I'd been with her, which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body.
On the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade.
Yes, if the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. Really, I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time.
Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here in this courtroom now.
Your Excellency, do not be deceived! The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Mimbami-san, if that's the case, perhaps you would explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you?
No, I have evidence, and it's very much conclusive.
What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it.
You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Ouchie.
Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student.
What?
I'd imagine there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you brought this on yourself!
What the? Could a more damning shot exist? Cruelty in the air on that beach is almost palpable.
This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused murderer's nature, for it shows the precise moment.
Thank you, Les! Thank you, I am feeling better. Still a little bit. Still, I mean, I don't know. It's probably completely unrelated. My head kind of hurts, but I'm fine. We're good. I can do funny voices again, which is great. Because, holy shit, I need it for fucking Ouchie here.
For it shows the precise moment that embodies that stop the plunge the
No, that's not true, no. I don't believe it. Ah, where were they taking that fucking picture from? Literally, where are they taking that picture from?
Order, order, order! Counsel for the defense, was it you who were responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom?
Perhaps his voice is yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature.
Bye, Les. You haven't finished the game? It's been like 2 months since you started. What you doing? I waited so long to start playing because I assumed everyone would be done by now. I'll show you who's slow to mature.
Careful now, Susano's starting to show her face here.
It's often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Yeah, true that, Cavelia.
Here we have ample proof. Cole will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence.
Corrego. Can't believe he's had a photograph like that. I've been sleeping the whole time. He does. I think we made that joke last time we played this game. I'm pretty sure someone fucking mentioned that. That he just looks like a Japanese Omni-Man. Was it you, Stormy? Oh, it was Stormy. Stormy said he looks like Omni-Man. Great minds. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Ray.
Objection!
That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention.
Oh.
Objection!
No, that's fucking super important. That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony.
Yeah!
I'll uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once.
Well, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Pardon?
You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post today, but there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown.
Goodness!
Are we to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it is fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court?
When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment, because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you?
Silence, you yokel student and blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses.
The defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but
the moment it was withdrawn. Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings.
Indeed. Without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. And the scene it captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear.
Oh no.
Cesaro, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from her victim.
I mean, obviously the fucking dude who sent it in fucking stabbed her in the back through this hole and then immediately took a picture. What fucking else could it be? Yes, we just need to prove that somehow. But why would she be lying down already?
You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Taxayuchi Ouchi in the court of law.
Can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial's gonna come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it. Really? Is that what we're going with? Not the fact that she's laying on the ground already? Alright, let's take a look at this picture. What is this? What is this thing here?
Well, Counsel?
Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is... fucking... I don't know. No, if I give up now, I'll never be able to look Ray in the eye again.
Susato, you need to steel yourself and summon your best argument.
I'll do my best. This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with an answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal.
What? No, you can't possibly. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us.
Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name.
How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you could...
However, I am able to present evidence. The defense is a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity.
What?
Very well then, Counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you clearly reveal something about the identity of the mystery photographer? Fuck.
That's not gonna help us, obviously. That's not gonna help us. Raucous England returnees, tell all. This is the interview with you and Saseki-san, is it, father? Oh! Same photographer! He's got a shitty lens! It looks as though it was quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment with his hand karate chopped me in the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. Found our evidence.
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again? Raucous England returnees tell all.
It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side.
Ah, yes indeed. They had already caught my eye, as it happens.
Ah, what of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, from the branches of a tree or the like?
There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you.
Now, if you look closely at this photograph... Look at this photograph!
Good gracious!
Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph, too.
Well, that tells us nothing. Yeah, yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree.
That was your wife's Halloween costume this year? What? A tree? Oh, okay. I was confused. You're just dressed up as a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach council. What's
quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have been transpired?
The curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of a cat, some tree branches. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs.
With the photographic device.
Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched, and that the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device.
In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera. Dude, fucking take a prune, dude.
There must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be virtually impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
Objection!
I think you're forgetting, Prosecution Ouchie, that one of the photographic features in a newspaper article.
A newspaper? Ah,
That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime.
what?
Manny Moosh. Is Narwhal talking? Oh, it's him. I see why you were called a raucous England returnee.
What are you yelling about? You've already testified.
It's many meno, I tell you. Many
memo.
many memo.
Soseki-san? What was that? Did you say many memo?
Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyu News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Raiden Many Memo.
Writing many memos. Okay, I love the name puns in this game. I gotta say, I was writing the intro to a R&R campaign, basically a D&D campaign earlier today, and I was like trying to do pun names for every single NPC and stuff. And I gotta say, I mean, Phoenix, or rather Ace Attorney games, they're like the grandfathers of doing that. I fucking love that. Writing many memo, very good.
Yes, Honeybee from dawn till dusk.
Now that he mentions it.
He's secretly spy, snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy.
That same reporter be.
A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Writing Many Memo.
So you're saying that this
Picture was taken by Many Memo, yes, my lord, your excellency, Esquire. Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Oh, yes, your excellency.
As you say, your excellency. One more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You must solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood? YMCA. Meh. Mini memo! To be continued.
Alright, well, we will be right back. I need to hit the restroom. And we will continue with the second half of this case. We're already halfway done. This is going a lot quicker than the first case of the last game, which I'm happy about, personally. What? I got Dimitri'd. What has happened in my absence? Many Memo stole the poison? You think he stole the poison and then fucking wrote about it? That's so dumb. Wait! RM! RM was the name, was the initials on the pen. It is. It's right in Many Memo. Oh my god. Oh my lord. That's hilarious. Oh my god. Okay, why the fuck would you... He stole shit and then wrote about it. I don't think he stole it. I mean, how would she have been holding the pen that had it in? I think I don't know. Nah. I still think she stole it. I think she was in, maybe she requested his assistance or I don't know. So sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray, you stupid whore!
You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone.
No, that's not it at all. I didn't want to get in trouble. I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hoped to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what she said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence? That you'd stand by me to the last? I remember. That's before I realized you were a filthy liar! And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato! I deserve it! No, in fact, throw me to the floor! Susato takedown time! No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city street. Methinks this might start to be a kink. I'm no better, you know. Oh? Even though in my heart I knew you'd pulled the knife blade from his breath's back, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato, you dumb bitch! How dare you! I'm gonna throw you to the floor and drag you through the city streets. I just want it to happen to somebody. I'm really into it. I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer. That's why I'm resigning. Sorry. See you in jail. Bye. Oh, no, no.
I think the situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task, and also, being a woman sucks dick.
Yes, Father. That fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Ray. Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Nah, I'll think about it. Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. I was so scared, you know, when it happened, I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well, now, whatever do you mean? And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Before collapsed you, before you fell me, with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time? That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that. Through the fucking hole they took the picture.
A great mystery indeed.
Not really. Still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It will be alright. However it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day. I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you said you saw is true.
Spoken like a true Mikotama. Now I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time, but we must make sure we have our facts in order.
Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. We should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see.
Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin.
Why are you holding it then? Give it to the police! Chemical reagent?
I sent a colleague of mine off some earlier to deliver to the police head. Okay. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case.
Ooh! We're gonna be spraying some chemical reagent?
What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet.
It's this newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the English ones doing. What? It was when the professor and Saseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swanned in. Oh, of course she swanned in. And without any compunction said to Professor Mikotaba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guest would love to hear about your work on that substance there."
Why is it scaring you? It's fine. Put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Saseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction.
So then Saseki-san knew about the poison.
Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too.
This Many Memo-san. By the way, did that reporter join you at all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there.
Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there.
Oh?
Unknown criminal had been given permission by the authorities to invade by the seaside. So Saseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yet he obviously didn't go back.
He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And then presumably he posted it anonymously to the police. Huh?
Yes, that must be what happened. Counsel! We just heard that the main witness is now ready to testify. Trial's about to resume. Please proceed to courtroom at once. I know I'm British. We're in fucking Japan. Imperial Japan, mate. Not my British anymore. It's time to steal ourselves once again, then. Defense attorney Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Yes. Ray has put her faith in me and told me everything, so I can't let her down. Only under fucking duress. I have to prove what really happened that day. Her withholding very important information is a lot fucking worse than me doubting her for 0.5 seconds. Come on. You're really equating two non-equatable things here.
I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Raymond Bami. Prosecutor Ouchi, have you summoned the new witness?
Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share.
Oh?
What news? And why does he look so happy about it?
During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotaba's laboratory at Yume University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Mr. Cybret's life.
Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter.
Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions,
Of course. Okay. Alright. Here we go. I want to use this. Let me use this. I already know what I'm using it on. Let me fucking use it. I need to use this on the pen. Label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know. It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be a little help here, I'm afraid. Couldn't you have just written medicine on it in Japanese, then we'd all be able to read it? Here's one of the international languages of medicine, my dear. But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. Can we not open it? I want to use this. They're probably gonna make me use it later to figure out that the inside of the pen is a thing. I had the region delivered to the police headquarters by rickshaw, so it'd be there in good time.
But judging by the man's swagger,
But judging from the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. And counsel, what were the results? There was nothing on the blade.
this dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no traces of poison anywhere along its blade.
What? Are you sure about that?
I would stake the reputation of the police on it.
Armed with the reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. A murder weapon has been entered into the court record.
In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed.
Ah!
Now the prosecution is ready to call the new witness.
Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well, officer. Bring in the witness.
No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, it's on the pen. How could the toxin have entered the victim's body?
Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court.
Right, Memo of the Shoyu News. I'm what the people like to call a giorno.
What's a giorno, Father? Do you know? Simply put, it's a contraction of journalist and buongiorno, meaning he's Italian.
I'm there when the news breaks, putting pen and paper and catch those scoops so they're in the print the next morning. They don't call me the hero, the herald for none. Nice guy news.
Oh, so, was it you who took this photograph, was it?
Well, what have we here?
I'm sorry? Also, literally the band on his arm is literally the same as the pen. He's an incel motive discovered.
Oh, brace yourselves, people. Many Memo senses a scoop in the oven. Female student up to foul play, defended by a curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court.
Oh no, Memi Memu also thinks he's gay.
The readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the folded 72-point in a 5-leg format in the morning edition.
Huh?
Right then, let's start with your name.
And your phone number, and home address, and whether you're free for dinner tonight. Oh, it's Ryunosuke Naruhodo?
Next! What made you want to become a lawyer?
I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose.
Ryutaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see.
Just part of Kazuma's dream for a while.
By the way, my name is Takatsuchi Aochi. That's Takatsuchi Aochi. The so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart.
No, the readers won't buy that.
What?
Witness? Yeah. What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for taking this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't be a journal if I didn't click quick when I present with a scoop like that, now would I? Sometimes Story calls out to me, sometimes I have to chase him down, but either way you gotta be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say.
It's literally just his pen. You lost your pen, buddy.
That's what I call mini-memoism.
Many-memoism?
Ah yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself and Saseki-san. Yes, right, that was me, Many-Memo again. But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu News offices after our meeting.
Oh, he spilled the ink on his hand, true.
The scoop is, I didn't. Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest.
Ms. Brett's words?
A criminal, left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen? It's horse dung! This country's judiciary is rotten to the core! The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on! The police are just imperial pawns!
Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play.
Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my mini memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right, here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Serious criminal going on some junket. The people didn't know about this. So I decided to sneak after them. To get the woman's story so I could hammer her to the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph. Oh yes, I saw it with my very own Giorno eyes. From start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Memo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed of the events surrounding Miss Brett's death.
The camera never lies.
The beach hut was made of shutty old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor. She stabbed her in the back. My smoldering Giorno spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave on one of the screens and poked the lens through for a perfect shot.
Read screens, you say? I prefer watching them.
Right, you could see them clearly through the opening of that great shot I snapped. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. This allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up.
Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut?
Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish.
And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens.
Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime!
A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in journalists, I suppose.
Run a risk one day, run the scoop the next. That's many memoism in a nutshell. At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict.
No!
Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful!
Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question.
What question?
Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published?
Oh, that's right.
It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are not yet to be understood.
More pathetic excuses!
Very well then, counsel, proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. It's those damn suspenders that he keeps snapping. He's snapping them directly onto his nipples. Do you think he likes that? And he goes, and they hit his nipples. He's like, oh yeah! Fucking the only way I get to feel anything anymore. Beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. I guess let's press that, but I'm sure it's true. Did you want to see what's happening inside the beach hut in the first place, you pervert?
Call it a journo instinct. Can you think of a better reason?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painting the journo as a voyeur.
It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge.
Oh, my nipples. You've got it all wrong, little student boy.
Sorry?
To my mind, all that was inside that hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. A scoop of fine ass. Scoop's no gender. Man or woman, it's all news. That's not even many memoism. It's basic journalism.
If only the courtroom was as indiscriminate.
Right, so that's all buttoned up. Can we move on? Tell the court then witness what sign befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut. Say they vindicated my journo instinct, that's what. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all as clear as day.
The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing.
Hold it!
So you actually saw Mimbani-san entering the hut.
Yup, and she was raging. Raging like my journo spirit. Raging like my raging hard boner for journo spirit.
And the argument you mentioned was about what exactly?
You stole it, I didn't steal it, that kind of thing.
Talking about the poison, I suppose.
The student girl walked right up to the Englishwoman and really got started laying in her. I mean, if she laid in her anymore, there would have been eggs.
Bro! The fuck? Why would you say this?
Man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the student's rantings fell on deaf ears, like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time.
He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest.
Anyway, the point is that woman in the dock was mightily angry.
And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me!
Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the ground as she flourished and stabbed her in the back.
Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place?
Ha! The precise moment, I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out, from start to finish.
I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed.
I would love that.
Right you are. It's all here in my mini memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back of the hut here.
Which means he had to have been watching from here? But then this would be in his way, right?
Yes, the accuso's tennis pony confirmed that.
She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down.
It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Then the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way, and in a flash, plunged the knife in her adversary's back as the two of them passed each other.
Sure does post.
What you described as a crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what the many memoism always says.
The beach hut plan has been entered into the court record. Okay, so I do want to take note of this. So in this picture, so he's looking, so he's, okay, so he does appear to be looking from, if she's on that side of him, would he have to be here? He's somewhere on this side. I think he would have to be here, wouldn't he? No, maybe here? No, because, no, hold on, because she's facing the doorway in that, right? Yeah, the doorway's there. The doorway is there, so he basically has to be here. Which means he would have been blocked by this, I think, but Unless you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen. Did it not occur to you to try and prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film?
Journos have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre.
So you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all?
Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in.
And that's something to be proud of, is it?
Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony.
Father, what are you...
I will grant the defense's request. Many Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement. Well, nihilism is the foundation of many memoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. I ain't never once set foot in the hut nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer.
Hold it!
Really, you didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that?
I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves are stretched to the breaking point already.
Oh, I see. You were scared. Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you, yes.
It was all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap the shot.
You really should have summoned help before thinking of your camera.
Many memoism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time in those instances, many memoism comes out on top. As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art. Yes, that's spot on.
Surely he's making all this up.
Claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating.
But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it?
That's how you feel. I suggest that you trust your instincts and press about everything he said. As you've no doubt seen done many times with your role as judicial assistant.
Yes, I have. Seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do. Do boop 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 boop.
Hold it!
Of course, fully aware of your desire to capture the incident on film, I'm sure. But why then did you choose to post the photograph anonymously to the police?
I'm afraid I don't understand a word that's coming out of your mouth.
I'm asking why, as a journalist, you decided not to make a story out of the incident?
Think of me as a sculptor who makes art out of the sordid private details of other people's lives. But I never discuss my own personal life on principle. I mean, that's basic many-memoism.
It's not something to boast about.
No doubt your burning desire to see the truth exposed and justice done was what motivated you.
That's it! That's brilliant! My burning desire to see something or other exposed.
Fucking... Yeah, you wanted to see somebody exposed, alright.
By your own admission, you were outside the hut. How then did you manage to take the photograph? Ah, yes, that. I'm glad you asked.
Sussy incel.
Pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through the perfect shot.
Hold it!
The two women inside didn't notice.
Ah, obviously not. If they had, where would I be right now? In jail, that's where.
Which you'd think would make you reflect on what you were doing.
No, a journo's job is to collect little snippets of life as unobtrusively as possible. Leave nothing but footprints. Take nothing but photos. Yes, that's spot on.
Is that many-memoism? Did you just make that up?
The point is the witness risked life and limb to obtain this photograph. And this photograph reveals the whole truth. There's nothing more to be said.
Never once set foot in the hut. Spoke with the Englishwoman.
Did we did press that already, right?
Hold it!
Okay, yeah. I mean, I can try and link him to the pen already, but I'm not sure, like we know it's his pen, but I don't know if we're far enough into the case yet to say it's his pen.
Objection!
Alright. I guess we have enough to press on the pen. The added portion of the testimony was that he never spoke to Josiah and he never entered the hut, which his pen was in there. I wasn't sure if we already could say it was his pen, but I guess we can. Any memo, son. Until now, I've had a firm belief. And newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth.
You're spot on there. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shoyu News on my arm. Oh, well, thanks for enlightening us on what that is. In a way, that's more many-memoism.
Sadly, though, It seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth.
What? What are you suggesting with those discriminatory words, Counsel?
Many Memo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen?
Ah!
This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died.
No, what are you?
If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. R.M.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Raymond Bami.
Is that a coincidence, I wonder? That your initials are also R.M.?
No!
Write in many memo. R.M.
That's horse dung. Can't you see? One of the central tenets of many memoism is being a pencil user.
What's that ink doing on your hand then? And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see on your right hand, there is a very obvious blue ink stain. It appears that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is.
Horsey horse dung!
Minnie Memo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Josiah Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse!
Exactly! Show You News will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky.
The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every single star in the sky. And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is.
In that case, counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies.
Of course, Your Excellency. Boo-da-boo-da-boo. The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner identity is... Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Oh. Yep. It's the show you thing. As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will, of course, recognize, Many Memo-san.
Goodness me! It's the emblem of the Shoyu News!
In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News, whose initials are RM. Suddenly, the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Many Memo-san, how do you respond?
No! Order! Order! Explain yourself, witness! So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets.
I've used nothing but honest tactics.
Right then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Shoyu News reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman.
An interview?
You never mentioned this before.
When exactly was this?
As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing, and as we many memoists say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, alright, but... on one condition.
Condition?
In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call the earlier witness, Soseki Natsume-san.
Soseki-san?
Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. And brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one, it's big!
What?
Many memoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story. Very well. I will grant the witness request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand.
Saseki-san, hiding something? Well, of course, Cabellia, but when is that not the case in one of these games?
The witness's secrets. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why many memos and demands I reveal it now. You mean to say the victim?
The victim regained consciousness? And when she did, you decided to ask her a question. That's, true, yes.
He did, and that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused.
This is preposterous! Why am I only hearing about this now? Why did you mention this before, you yokel hack?
It wasn't even a conversation! Yes, I did pose the withering English rose a question, I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak, she was barely conscious even.
Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow? What on earth could have happened in that hut? I was thinking of showing for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss.
Hold it!
You asked her for an interview, you say?
Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year.
About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life?
That's not the way I phrased it. Many memos and calls for a straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson, is how I put it to her.
Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler.
Ask every question if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. A veteran of the paper taught me that.
And how did Miss Brett answer?
With one simple phrase. Fuck off. Mystery is a woman's charm. Phew, that told me. So I waltzed right out of there.
Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together.
Leave every room as if you're waltzing a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. A veteran of the paper taught me that. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running.
Hold it!
That was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away.
Persistence wins the prize. Many memoists will tell you that. Let them think that you've left, and just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop.
And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence.
Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness.
And now that you've found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide.
I'm sure.
Please do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say.
Try to stop me. There's a story to tell here, and I'm going to tell it. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help.
Hold it!
Saseki-san remained behind in the hut?
That's right, yep. Our author friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twitching, eyes bulging.
What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that have taunted me whilst traveling abroad. Back behind baleful bars, they'll be coming for me surely. That's all I could think. I felt as though I were gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat.
Poor Saseki-san. His experiences in London have scarred him deeply. As the world seemed to close in around me, I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely.
No sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please. And now we come to the crucial part. That's when it happened. That's when this Writer Man here asked the woman a very significant question.
What question? What exactly did he say?
Well now, you should hear it from that horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Writer Man?
Yeah! Out with it, you yokel hack! What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman?
Well, in truth, I'd been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see.
Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man.
But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air.
Ray.
I ran to the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosonaga saw his bread on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin!
But what did you ask her, Saseki-san?
I asked her, who did this to you?
Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond?
She didn't. She said nothing in response. But...
When in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony.
I will! I asked her, who did this to you? But she never replied.
So you tried to find out who the culprit was?
He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remains a fool forever. And having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than to remain a fool in prison forever.
However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct?
I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache, because I'm Japanese.
Oh dear. Seki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems.
Having read the report of his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia. But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Writer Man?
Well, yes, alright. She did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose. She just lifted a trembling finger and put it in the direction of the defendant.
Hold it!
He's scared of Xenoblade flares. Oh no! I need a bigger gun. Miss Brett pointed a finger at the defendant. Saseki-san, is that really true?
It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us with the student girls to the first aid. But I asked who did this to you. The Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut.
That doesn't... There's several people. Several people in the back of the hut, we know this. She can't be denied as the direction of the student girl who stands accused today. It's also the direction of Dickhead. No.
Saseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony?
But fiddlesticks, I say!
This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese.
Yes, of course, the Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. To somewhere at the back of the hut, where nobody was standing at all.
You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear?
Yes, that's it. Unclear. I'm very, very unclear.
You sure are. Sure are, bud.
Your Excellency! Surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly, but there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused in the direction that the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could have possibly committed this crime.
I'm inclined to agree. And in absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial.
No! No!
The headline's writing itself. Dashing lawyers, hopes dashed. 92 point across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition. This is a serious blow, Cesaro. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence. The judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over.
But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet.
Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need.
You marsupial moron. Very good. Ray gives her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. Then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet before collapsing on the floor in front of me with a knife in her back. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all that information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question.
Take it then the defense has nothing further to add.
So, the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised.
In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter.
This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim? I know!
Objection!
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being.
Oh, to what end, Counsel?
The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
An alternative theory? Ha! None exists.
Objection!
There is someone else present at the scene who could have committed this crime.
What?
And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was around those around her at the time. Actually, I want to check something real quick. We never actually talked about this knife. Ah yes, this must be the victim's blood. Oh dear, blood is never a pretty sight, is it? Having to fight the urge to run it under a hot tap and get it clean.
You've always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you?
I think this is something else, Father. Is there... Okay. Nothing on this knife. I was hoping we could link it to somebody. By mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is fiction. Fantasy.
Very well. As you seem so sure of yourself, Counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Yes, Your Excellency.
You will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. The moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed?
Right there, baby.
Take that!
Naruhodo-san would never give up, and I'm a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here.
Are you mad, Counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut? What? Order! 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 But student line Naruhodo-san, Esquire, that makes no sense at all. You've just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop stab. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about. I can swear to that.
Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there's no way he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut.
Thanks, Post. Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. And in point of fact, the murderer BL Jade. Oh, that's very good. Yeah, I can't believe Mario killed Brett. Good on him, though. Then what's wrong with his penis?
You're bluffing! You're bluffing, you yokel!
The defense's assertions are clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut? Ooh, we need evidence for this? Is it the picture? No. Well, I've presented it now, but I haven't the first idea why I chose this. Fuck. It's something of a windfall, Your Excellency.
I think the word you were looking for, Counsel, was downfall.
Fuck, I thought it was that. Your theory is correct, and the knife was thrust into Miss Brett's back from outside the hut. There should be a visible trace somewhere. A trace? Yes, on the hut itself. Armed with that idea, I must look through. Aha! Aha! Intéressant. Your Excellency, the defense would like to present a different piece of evidence. Go ahead. This other picture. The original photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from the outside of the beach hut.
Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing.
I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to. Counsel, once again, I must call on you to be explicit to the court. Where on this photograph is the trace of the stabbing, which you claim took place from outside the hut?
Take that!
Look closely just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds.
No, I can't! I can't see any such thing!
It's true that the hut in question had 4 walls as you'd expect, however. By parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them. This is extraordinary! Yes. It sure is. I'm pretty cool. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. Ah! And of everyone present at the scene, there is only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Right in Minimemo-san, it could have only been you. No!
This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this farcical scenario, that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No, of course not.
We're not? Shit! I was trying to fucking gaslight you on that, but apparently, fuck. Shit!
Do you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death? Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on the stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly as me assuring you she was untouchable. A stool! Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool. My word! So, in fact, the victim was killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed screen. Ah! Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, Minbami-san's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. But to what end? By your silence, Minimemo-san? I take it that you don't deny the charge.
This is absurd!
That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means the defendant, Minbami-san, is innocent of the crime. Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave. I must say, I've never been more proud.
No, this can't be. The Ouchie clan can't. What of my growth of hope? It wasn't all an aberration. I can't accept this. I won't.
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by delivering my final verdict and... Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals?
But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut through the reed screen walls.
And no one but you was in the place at the time to have his hand on the hilt of the blade. It's a perfectly logical deduction. So, your argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now.
Irrelevant?
Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed, it doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else.
What are you talking about?
Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up.
What?
Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course.
The poison?
Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? And it's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see. So, presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed? Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood.
He put the poison in the pen, and when he went to talk to her, he stabbed her with the pen, and then he left, and he stabbed her in the back to make it look like someone else did it.
How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely, it matters not a jot who stabbed whom and whose back and with whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison!
But that can be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Forgotten already, have we, yokel? During these very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assisted in proving that the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison whatsoever.
So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right?
I mean, you still have to fucking explain why you stabbed her. We've proven that you did stab her, regardless of whether or not she died. You have to explain why you did it. And the reason is to put the girl in the to make everyone think she did it. How the poison entered the victim's body. There's an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. You mean she drank it?
Have another look at the photograph here. As you can see, a bottle of carbonated water and glass sheet knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach hut. The poison could have been slipped into either.
So somebody made Miss Brett drink it.
Well, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense that I poisoned the woman, wouldn't? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
Established? What are you talking about?
Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you.
Me? What on earth does he mean?
Ooh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is prime press fodder, this is. In would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. That's great, that is. Let me get one shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. I'm a journo and a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. I'm not about to start now, because that's many-memoism.
For a brief moment, I thought I'd illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us?
Complete innocence. Oh yes, I established the Englishwoman, and that's the very fact that proves I'm innocent.
Fucking why'd you do that? Because why would I bother stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her?
When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the court weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice on it.
Okay, alright, he's explained it. So, you admitted then, that everything happened as I described? That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen?
You can blame this miserable country of ours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did it that our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back, I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. As someone who spends his life taking the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information to my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right, you guessed it! That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart.
You're implicating Ray again.
She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! This journo here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he needn't only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical.
And therefore this report had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical.
That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last.
This is unbelievable. And after I made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he gonna get away with it now? Bop! Think of Kazuma-sama, Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Oh, there it is, the final gavel, fuck!
Very well then, counsel, proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial.
Yes, Your Excellency.
Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and that's the very fact that proves I'm innocent.
So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions towards Miss Brett, then?
Ah! The woman's very existence offenses my sense of justice.
Your sense of... he's claiming some sort of righteous indignation?
She was pure evil, a cold-blooded killer who'd committed murder right here on our empire soil. But did good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice, put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty, that's what drove me to do it.
So in summary, murderous intentions, then.
Whatever you want to call it, the point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight. So I had to do what was right, for society.
Yet a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay.
Obviously, because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all.
So, killing her was the right thing to do, but we need to send the girl who killed her to jail, right? Right? Is that what I'm getting from you, Mini Memo? Is that what I'm getting from you, Mini Memo? Dickhead? So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim?
Obviously, that'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you're already wearing braces like these.
The accused administered the poison following which the witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, yokel. Who knows, you may even learn something here today.
Shut the fuck up, Ouchie.
2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim.
Yeah, exactly right.
Do something that evil and you got it coming. That's how the law works, the law of reckoning.
That's not the kind of law this court upholds.
You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim then, witness. When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murder arguing, it got my goat.
What exactly were they arguing about?
About what happened in the restaurant 9 months ago, that's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson, a professor of medicine invited here from England by Professor Mikotaba, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered.
Her case was to be heard by the British consular court in Shanghai. However, there is little doubt that she would have simply been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman.
It was eating that student girl up inside, you could see it. I really felt for her, which is why I'm sending her to prison.
I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray!
Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't blurt out whenever you feel like it.
No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen.
But this awful man is making all this up. Susato, please, you have to make them listen.
Who the fuck is Susato?
Return the dock at once, Mimani-san. We're in the middle of a cross-examination.
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great-peeping Tom.
Whoa! Take it easy there.
Please, I really think the court should hear out what the defendant has to say.
Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks.
I will grant the request of the defense.
But, Your Excellency!
This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak.
Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It was nothing to do with Mr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
The stolen poison killed the victim, you mean?
I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson.
That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult.
It's true. I pestered Professor Mikotaba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited the laboratory. As I left, I was searched from top to tail.
Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we'd been developing, you see. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance.
I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with the deadly poison. I wanted to look my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that.
To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her if there would be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government, even. It would be a complete disaster.
And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns?
She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually.
Ah yes, Menimemo-san, one small question if you don't mind. I do mind, can't you see I'm busy? Clearly you were outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive, deadly poison stolen from Yubei Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoryu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, look at this. The entire article is almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word.
Ah!
Well, Menimemo-san?
As a Juru, and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of many memoism.
Father's clearly read about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut. Details of the poison have been updated. So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her.
Shut up! My stories never stick. Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record. Very well, you may amend your formal testimony.
You alright there, bud?
The point is, if you'd poisoned someone, there'd be no reason to then go and stab the person as well.
Perhaps if you doubted the efficacy of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die.
That's horse dung.
What?
That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I'm a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer as it happens.
Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have been likely only minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeds to stab her in the back as well. There has to have been a good reason for that.
If it was the porter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly, he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut.
Yes, that's undeniable.
Between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change in the situation.
Sorry? What change?
The porter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman.
Ah, yes, that's it. That's when Manny-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he'd used. That could be the key here. If the victim had wittingly taken the poison already, the reporter would have had no reason to stab her. On the face of it, the logic sounds entirely reasonable. But there's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder. I could think of a plausible explanation why he might have stabbed her even after the poisoning.
I feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we should be looking for.
Mouth, poison lace blade. So we know that there was stuff in the pen. Yes, I agree. And in order to do that, I must try to glean more information. Oh, fuck. Ah, shit. Okay, so if you poison someone, there'd be no reason to stab the person as well. I feel like the answer has to be in here. But he didn't learn about the poison. If he didn't learn about the poison until this point, then how would he have poisoned her, right? I'm a bit confused. I thought he knew about the poison beforehand. And, you know, put it in his pen, got searched, you know, and took it out. But if he didn't learn about the poison, he knew about the poison, he didn't learn about its effects until now. As even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. So he knew there had to be a wound, maybe? Maybe he didn't know there, like maybe he thought poking her would be enough? Current methods cannot detect the chemical. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. Starting with impaired breathing, ending with a crash in her pupils. I'm not entirely sure on this one. Do you guys have any thoughts? I wish I could test the stuff inside here.
Objection!
Okay, let's go with that, yeah. Well, I can think of one reason.
What? What?
But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information from this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut?
Of course he did. There can be no question of that.
After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin.
And there is one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Mimbani-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Where are you going with this, counsel?
Ryunosuke has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it.
Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have been imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Mimbani-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put.
When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point,
Memo-san overheard some worrying information.
Worrying information? What worrying information? The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy and that it couldn't be readily obtained.
Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could have come from is my lab. And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs of death.
The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison,
which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Mimbani-san being no exception.
Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson, unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you. Right in many memo.
Gah!
Boop, 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 boop. This fucking jam! It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day, and it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that it was a terrible mistake, because the poison caused such unnatural symptoms and was so traceable. As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned of these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late.
So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake.
A plan that involves stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
But what good could that possibly do?
Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect.
What's in the blood? The poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would ever have suspected.
This is extraordinary!
Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use. Which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back.
Order, order, order! The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward?
Well, there are a number of, yes! I counter completely!
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to lost hope.
Lost hope?
Hold it. Oh! Here he comes.
Oh, you pathetic, useless, fallen samurai!
Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? My burgeoning growth is on the rise.
I don't need a counter-argument.
What? What are you talking about?
It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say, gave it to the victim, you say, stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument, because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here, in my many memos, every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what the Shoyu News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin developed in the government.
Yeah, Cabelli, it's writing many memos.
Indeed, all those visitors are thoroughly searched. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. How's that then? Blow the story wide open. See, I write in many memo, a mere reporter from the Shoyu News.
Oh, I just realized that Shoyu News is also a pun on Show You News. I got right in many memo a while ago, but I just got Shoyu News.
Couldn't possibly have installed that poison from the professor's laboratory.
But there can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here.
What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin?
Dude, he's so into me. My point is this: there is one way that you, Menimemo-san, could have stolen the poison that day.
I've heard enough verbal conjecture now. Thank you. What the court must be showed is evidence. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question?
His pen!
Take that!
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen.
A fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant?
These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now.
Bah! I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad.
Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Stuck up with succulent and sumptuous ink, and one's work is awash with the words in the blink of an eye.
That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later.
What does all this talking of sucking up ink have?
And just as it's possible to suck up ink into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course.
My word! Can this really be?
Well, Minimemo-san? When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Gah!
Objection!
No absurdity! That never happened!
True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from happening in the laboratory. But would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places?
No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would have not been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say.
I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Memo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped?
Are you suggesting? The courtroom is jamming, Your Honor!
The natural conclusion is that your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment. You dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink?
What?
As you can see for yourself and as you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass.
Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? So this is how our modern justice system works, does it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps?
Oh fuck, he's Wolverine! He's evolved!
I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. Ah! You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen? That's wild speculation, nothing more. You thought you could bring down a fine upstanding citizen with a trick like that? Think again!
It looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter.
As I see it, the situation is now very simple.
It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal a poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends on whether or not the defense can prove that he did it with evidence.
Ah! No such evidence could possibly exist.
Memo-san, this is how our modern justice system works.
What?
In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we're all well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you.
Very well then, I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence.
This is it then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle. The defense can prove, by means of this item, that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle?
This bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question.
Ah!
Yes, that poison is entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method.
Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison.
Reagent? What?
One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Memo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt.
No, you can't. I won't.
Your crimes are bad enough, but at least no one to admit defeat.
Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once.
Ah! Ah! Oh God! Oh Lord! This isn't my fault! The Empire drove me told this! Trying to hold on to the sanitized subject of the foreign national women, I took arms of the fighting warrior fed from the battlefield and used justice and righteousness. Many.
Hell yeah! Susato, with me! I'm there. Nice! Got him! Did I do it right? That was a Susato takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryutaro takedown. Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Fucking girl power! Fucking throw that dude. The instant of the first drop of reagent took the nib of the fountain pen. It was clear to everyone present.
When I saw it in there in the lab, the poison, the devil got hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink of the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully.
And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen. It's a good thing he didn't, like, do the thing, like, just absent-mindedly do the thing where he touches the pen at his tongue that he's, like, always doing with the pencil in the animation, just, like, with the pen. Oh, fuck, I'm dying!
Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Mini-Memo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up.
Then why did the English one end up dead?
I went into that hunt intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter, a known killer, enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face.
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian.
What'd you call me?
This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you elf! Get out and crawl back to the cave you came from.
That's what I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, when she clearly had no remorse at all. Suppose it was my journal spirit getting all fired up.
I'd like to ask you something.
Yeah?
You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought.
Nobody's perfect. There's no justice in the press.
Sorry?
After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up, that's what it was!
A cover-up? What do you mean?
I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on, doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction should never come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was gonna sail away into the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan.
What sort of deal?
I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up!
He came under pressure from the government, you mean?
If our government is gonna let criminals walk free, if they're gonna crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see the justice is done myself?
Let's not forget, Mini-Memo-san, that you committed murder yourself and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Josiah Brett. Finally, fucking someone points out his hypocrisy. Thank you, Susato-san. Fucking Bay. Anyone who says Maya is better than Susato has their head up their ass and likes hamburgers too much, because Susato is a goddamn MVP. Truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all.
I suppose appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Oh. Yes. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way here.
It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience in the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits.
Oh, Naruhodo-san, Ryunosuke, you mean?
The way he handled the trial 9 months ago and the way you handled this one. It gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land.
That's very flattering, Your Excellency.
Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries.
Thank you.
So, Prosecutor Ouchie, do you have any final thoughts? Maybe some apologies you'd like to hand out? Maybe some bitching and groveling you'd like to do?
He's cutting off his hair? Prosecutor Ouchie?
I, Takatsuchi of the Ouchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today.
Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it?
Silence! Rather than living on in shame.
They're totally making it look like he's about to seppuku, even though he's just gonna cut off his hair. Okay, this has to be the fucking thumbnail, though, right? I'm gonna get out there so we can make that the thumbnail. It's fucking wild.
I will end it all now with...
Fuck, that's even better. What a fucking thumbnail.
For that is the true path of Ouchiism.
Ouchie-ism?
One hopes that the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness.
Sprig of my topknot, the time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Takatsuchi.
True. So fucking... Everyone's fucking praying for his hair. Dude, welcome back, Osanaga. You came back just in time for the clown show. It's so funny.
Now, in regard to the defendant, Ray Mamami-san,
Yes, Your Excellency?
I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty.
We did it. We did it. We did it again. 2 games in a row. Yeah, we did it again. Of what? Of the knife thing? Absolutely, go for it. But I'm also gonna use it as a thumbnail. But it's fine because the video's unlisted. It's so fucking funny though. Hell, post it in general. I don't care. It's general enough for me. That can go in current playthrough, that can go in general, that can go in visual novels, that can go anywhere, dude. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Cesaro!
Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there.
Ray and Father.
Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm gonna cry.
Wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. I took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I would have to say that the congratulations belong to you. But mostly to me. Suzato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals. Well, no, I'm actually not. I'm more equal than you are, actually. I definitely did 99% of the work. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger. Throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... what? In the great defense lawyer, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. So I have to take you... what, shouldn't you be treating me to the milk? Think about it, Ray. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anyone else we could throw together?
I hope you're not looking at me, Ray.
Oh, my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not.
Ah, there it is at last. Ray's lovely smile.
You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Suzato Mikataba for now. So I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame.
What?
What is happening?
Ah, Soseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga, I do hope you've been keeping well.
Is that really you?
Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope. But it's me, Suzato Mikataba.
I don't.
So dashing, so divine.
No, everyone in this game has the hots for fucking Ryutaro. Ryutaro confirmed the sexiest man alive. He's gonna be Time's sexiest man of the year. He's man of the year. No! Doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you! I had no idea, Miss Suzato Esquires, that you were a locum student Naruhodo-san's Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney!
He's at the name of the game! Also, he's an idiot. So confused. Still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that an unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at Old Bailey, Soseki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author.
I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm a chief inspector of the police bureau, who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less.
He has a name, and it's Mr. Turtle. Mr. Turtle. MVP.
I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector.
Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see.
Just two, really. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector.
Well, I am the professional, of course.
I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do. Everyone's a dipshit. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. Though that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama?
From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year.
Ah, yes, it was the English doctor she killed, understand it?
Dr. John H. Wilson, yes, the man I invited to Japan personally.
The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter. With Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean. Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course.
Ah, my arch nemesis. How lightly you utter his name.
Well, according to the stories published about him in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson.
What? Dr. Wilson?
I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again.
As you know, I traveled to the Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Couldn't stay around for your birth or anything. Had to go do my own shit.
Yes, grandmother told me about it. And you being a deadbeat dad.
On return to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. But I also to serve another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs.
Yes, I was aware of that as well.
In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you.
Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever and you were growing weaker by the day.
What? Where did the news come from?
That's what I'd like to know, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way, or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of.
Dear me, do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato? Sorry, my dear, I simply can't— Ah! Let me go!
Oh, it's him. Minimemo-san!
So, one throw wasn't enough for you.
I've got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor! Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on in that visiting student's fate.
Visiting student? Josiah Brett, you mean?
No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago.
What? Kazuma-sama? What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama?
Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never— Ah!
The judge is throwing takedowns! Look at him on the fucking floor there! Judge MVP! Oh my god, I love this judge.
Well, I didn't expect—
This judge actually fucking listens to the defense. This judge fucking gets angry at bullshit. He throws people. This is best judge.
Well, I didn't expect to find him here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Yujin, and it's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with him, and I'll be there shortly.
Oh, Your Excellency? It's an inside job, dude!
The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Seishiro Jigoku. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato?
Did you know all along from the start of the trial?
The judge sees everything, Susato.
I couldn't let you take the risk. Seishiro here hadn't known, and then he'd recognized you.
so I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we?
Yes, having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address.
Before you go, Father.
Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But well done again, both of you. You did it admirably.
Oh, thank you very much.
What did you think of my Seishiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that.
Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Josiah Brett? About Dr. Wilson? And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. I'm gonna have to bring this up with Father sometime, when nobody else is around. Oh hey, you're still here.
Judicial Assistant Mikitama-sama Esquires, could I have a word?
Oh, yes, of course, Saseki-san. What is it?
I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you.
Oh?
I believe, do, that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England.
This I have to hear. Please, Saseki-san, tell me at once.
I will! As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikitaba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report.
My father?
He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan.
What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in?
I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in?
Of course, I could never forget.
Your father seemed concerned himself mainly with the second case.
The second one? You mean the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you and that any member of the public is aware of is the first.
Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says.
I legitimately don't remember. Wait, is it the Hound of the Baskervilles? Was he involved in Hound of the Baskervilles? Because he was involved in the one... Yeah. Oh, was he? He was involved in Hound. Okay. I kind of forgot that. Very interesting.
Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings.
Haunted lodgings? What? That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan? The cursed lodgings? I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san.
Please come back to me. I miss you, Susanoo.
But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter.
Please tell me you're coming back.
I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
Why does Kazuya have a grave if nobody here knows he's dead? And I guess, I mean, it must be Hound, because that's the only other case I can think about that Shom said don't talk about. I didn't realize What's-His-Face was included in that. Episode 2, The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. Alright! Wait, didn't we have something in the first game about a Clouded Kokoro? That was the case that Susato was... Not Susato, that Saseki was involved in. Huh. I guess we're going back there. Interesting. Okay. Okay. The plot definitely thickens. The plot definitely thickens. I'm excited for this. This is seeming pretty fucking great. I really like that they combine the two games like this. It gives them twice as much time to develop their story, which is really good. So anyways, that has been the triumphant return of Technovoid after several weeks of being incredibly sick, and the triumphant return of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! Between all that fun Psychonaut stuff that we did. But I am super excited to be back with this game. This is fucking so much fun, and I will see you all hopefully next week, unless I die again, with more Ace Attorney. At some point, I will play the new Deltarune chapter, but I'd rather do this right now, so this is what we're doing. I will do my best to not die, but we will just have to wait and see. Stay tuned to see if I manage to hold on to mortality for yet another 7 days. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys before Christmas. So I'll wish you a wonderful holidays. Next Friday's Christmas! Next Friday's... No, next Saturday's Christmas. Next Friday's Christmas Eve. Ooh, Christmas Eve stream. That'll be fun. That's fun. Alright, I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.